Who's getting us started?
Steve.
Steve is.
He's gonna take us up to here.
Oh, Steve,
until-
that's Steve.
Steve.
Oh, Tim is getting us started.
Tim
He's gonna take us up.
starting a live stream.
All right, thank you. So we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. I just wanted to make sure the board agreed that I'm going to go ahead and serve as your temporary chair and secretary until we get up to that point. As long as I don't see any no's on that, I will do that. We will do the roll call. I would ask Tom if you could do that for us, please.
Sure. Rich Johnson,
Here.
Scott Trotter,
Here.
Cindy Young.
Here.
Steve is here and so am I.
Okay.
There we go. Also note.
Excuse me.
Also want to note that Cheryl Grasso, our supervisor, is here as well.
Okay, great. All right, if we can have a moment of silence and then the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to approve your agenda for this evening?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I've got a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Go ahead, and do I have any nominations for your chair?
I move to nominate Scott.
All right. Any other nominations for chair? Hearing none. All in favor of Scott as your chair?
Aye.
Aye.
That also passes. Scott, I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Okay. Election of the vice chair. Any nominations? Cindy? Elect Cindy.
Okay. That's
Any second?
okay. Second.
Rachel second. Okay,
Everybody say aye.
Aye.
there we go.
And election of secretary. Any nominations?
I nominate Rich.
Second?
There we go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Got it.
Any public comment for agenda? Nobody here.
Anybody online? Just Steve?
You only take comment for those who are in the meeting.
Thank you.
One thing that I would just make note, it's not really public comment, but I just wanted to, you all, if you have not already received an invitation to a meeting on the 29th, there will be a meeting for all committee members of all the committees. We'll meet at that time. The meeting will start at 6 o'clock for the chairs and vice chairs. I'll go over how to run a meeting briefly. And then at 6:30, all members will show up and we'll just go over kind of all that's going on with all the different committees, make sure everybody knows what each committee does. Also, we'll go over the Sunshine Act and Right to Know so that you all are aware of that. A little bit of our social media policy, so you're aware of that. And then at 6:37, 7:30, we will have a short, probably 45 minutes meeting with the secretaries of how to use our software. And so we will to actually do the minutes. So just kind of letting you know that, and that's on January the 29th.
So I'll be away.
Okay.
You can do by Zoom or something? Or?
Yeah, we could set it up so it could be by Zoom as well.
Okay. Okay. So minutes, consider approving the minutes from the December 17th, 2025 meeting.
And make a motion to approve them.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Reports Township Staff. Financial update.
I mean. Take it away.
Tom, are you gonna start
Yes.
with that?
Yes, I'll start that. Two things I want to highlight is that we obviously have adopted the 2026 budget. And in that, we've obviously revenues and expenses are now in balance. To get that in balance, we did have a general fund real estate tax millage increase from 1.9997 to 2.1658. In addition, to match future requirements for the streetlight fund, we've just changed the allocation of the millage charged to for both streetlight fund, streetlight repairs in the future, and replacement, and then our hydrant fund. So all we did was we just changed the millage rate slightly to accommodate the fact that we want to increase the amount that we're netting and reserving for the streetlight fund going forward, because I know there is and Steve, sometimes they have 15-year lives. Is that the target?
For the streetlights themselves, yes.
Yes, yeah. And obviously
Well, let me say it's for the excuse me, it's for the LED heads.
Yes, the LED heads then. So of course we don't anticipate them all going at one time, but anyway, we've increased it slightly and we've decreased accordingly to the hydrant fund. So in meeting this budget balance, just to take a snapshot from the respect that the total amount of the revenues and expenses, including for the general fund itself, are slightly just about $14,295,000 each. That included a slight usage of fund balance, $95,000, with 90% of it, $90,000 of it, to cover the remaining cost of the strategic plan and comprehensive plan that we're in the midst of right now. In addition, there's a legislative requirement increase that we have a scheduled deer hunt. The cost of the deer hunt for 2026 is $5,000. So we're only using $95,000 of our fund balance to arrive at the balanced budget. As a reference from last year, it was budgeted at $445,000 of fund balance that was used. So for 2025. So rather than go through this in detail, the capital projects are worth special noting. There's not that it's in front of us here, but we have projects like the $200,000 for legislative capital improvement to provide the median coverage to start replacing the grass and the mowing and all up and down Westchester Pike. We've already purchased. We have 10 computers that had to be replaced or obsolete. Situation like that. They were getting to the point where they needed replacement based on age. We've already replaced 7 of those. We just placed order number 8, so we're already 10 of them being replaced.
Where do you buy those?
We buy them as a vendor by the name of, get this right, DII Computers. They were from what I gathered, were referred to us by our IT folks that help now, that does all our building in that respect. We've got certain facility situations that are items that are there. Everyone knows about the patio at the library that needs to be replaced. If you've ever looked over there, that needs to be first, it needs to be removed. There's stormwater, a new foundation, and new bricks have to be laid. And we got a new sign that we're going to be doing out front because because of the sometimes when the sign's been there for a while. So now, in light of the fact that it's the 250th birthday of the United States, plus we have the PGA event here, and the whole world will be here. It's a good time to replace our sign. So that's in the budget. From a capital standpoint.
How much do you think the township will get from having the tournament?
Tournament? Well, in the budget, there is a part of the capital revenue that's that's used because it's a one-time item and being a capital. The projected amount of the is somewhere in the area between 1.3, 1.4 million dollars.
Is that a donation? I mean, what is
It is, well, what happens, it's our amusement tax. Our amusement tax is has been on the books, from what I understand, for a while, but it's been the ordinance has been adjusted just slightly. I believe, I don't know the
When you buy
complexity of.
No, it wasn't adjusted. It's just what it is.
5% amusement tax right on the top.
Right.
So the PGA has already collected it. Just a matter of them
Yeah.
Right,
remitting it to us.
right. That's the only thing. And
What expenses does the township have out of that 1.3, like
Okay.
overtime and?
we have probably it's projected at about $700,000 of police
Yeah.
coverage.
Including supporting neighborhoods.
Municipalities, yes,
Yeah,
we have,
not
not
yours.
not just ours. There's I want to
Yeah,
say,
I be careful. Let's 1 second. I think we're mixing a couple different things here. So the
All right.
amusement tax is coming into the township. It's been moved over to the capital piece because it is one-time revenue. I don't know that we can state exactly what our expenses are going to be today. A lot of the costs are being covered by the PGA itself, but the taxes over and above what the actual sum of those costs are. It is a tax that's been on the books. It looks like it goes back to about 1995 timeframe, I think is when I saw it. And so that's the basis of that tax, but it's not necessarily going to cover all the expenses. It's going to be used to help offset some of the expenses, but the PGA is also paying a lot of those expenses.
I guess what I was getting at, is there a net profit or net loss from having the PGA in town?
Well, I think that
Easy question, difficult answer.
Well, no, I think that we would say with the amusement tax, there's definitely an increase in our ability to spend on some things in the township. And because it's not covering necessarily all operating types of expenses, the PGA is also covering those things. It's that the tax is actually going to be used to help cover things. I'll give you some examples of some things that we've talked about already, but there's a need from the police department, for a UTV, for a variety of things that they're doing because of our new trail system and things like that. But we're using some dollars to purchase that. So, I mean, we'll pay for the sign out front, some of those kind of things using those dollars, and do that. The board hasn't made a final decision on everything yet, but that's kind of there's some things around that event that it's being used for.
Is it also fair to say, Steve, that the PGA hasn't actually come right out and told us exactly what they're going to cover for the township?
I think that there are some things, well, I mean, I think, yeah, that's probably true. It's not 100% ironed out completely at this point.
Well, it should be more revenue because you'll have all these people in Newtown Square, so they'll be using the
Yeah,
restaurants and.
Oh,
stuff
that'll
like
be, yeah,
that.
that'll definitely.
yeah,
happen.
there'll definitely be an uptick. I just want to make sure though that most people understand. I think people assume that the township gets some revenue when a restaurant has a sale of a meal or something like that. We really don't. The only taxes that we have on a business, I know there's communities that do, but Newtown did not have that in place prior to the change in the state law. And if you didn't have it in place prior to the change in the state law, I'm sorry, you couldn't put it into place, the business privilege tax, we didn't have it, so we couldn't do that. The only one that we have that we pick up is an LST tax, and that's on any employee that works in the township. And I say not for the township, but in the township, they pay $1 a week or $52 a year. It's called an LST tax. It's a local services tax. And at least half of that value has to be applied to emergency type services, your cost of your ambulance, the cost of the fire company, the police department, those kind of things. And more than half of it goes there. In fact, all of it goes to cover those costs for us. The only other costs we have, or the only other fee really that we have, is we do have a apologize, $75 business registration fee that we charge, just so that we know that the business is in town, that we know, and we track the business. But that's pretty close to a cost recovery kind of amount. There's not a lot of revenue from that.
Thank you.
So that's what we get from. So I think some people have thought, and I know like when I first started talking with some folks from the PGA, I first started talking with some folks from the from Aronimink, they all said, well, the township's going to have this really big boom in revenue because of all the businesses and all that. That's not where we're getting our revenue. We are getting revenue from the amusement tax, but we're not from the businesses because we don't have that. There will be some benefit to the county because the county does have some taxes related to our hotels. And as my understanding, all the hotels are booked already for that week, and actually for before that, there's some bookings. And then there's also some benefit, obviously, for the businesses themselves from people who will be there and using it. And we're excited about that for our businesses because we think that's a positive.
So what are the expenses besides like police and stuff?
Well,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
the police, other than the fact that like a camera trailer, things like that, like there's certain items that we're going to be using, not just for this event, but I mean, good, Steve, if you
Yeah,
want,
Scott's question was, what are the expenses
what are the expenses?
directly attributable to the PGA coming to town? Like,
Yeah, I think I mean, obviously there's been an investment of staff time over the last year and a half as we've been meeting, preparing. There will be some permits that they have to pull for tents. There'll be some permits they're pulling for the event itself. So that should be a cost neutral piece of it. That's usually how that is. But there are expenses related to like having emergency services and things like that in place. And we'll be helping to help offset some of those costs. I don't know the exact amount at this point, but it won't be anywhere near what our amusement tax value is.
Okay, cool. So we should make some, $1 million or something out of it.
Yes.
And
Good
of course,
number.
we're not looking at to dump it into operations or anything like that. So that's the whole
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah.
of A lot of these things, and we have between our parks projects exceed 400,000 $400,000. We've got the historic between the Paper Mill House, the Barton Bridge, and the John West House. We've got large amounts of, they come to the Square Tavern alone. We've got a roof replacement, we got HVAC replacement, we've got tree replacement, and we got plumbing that all total is over $200,000 for that. Wow. Yes,
That little building?
that little building, yes.
Historic bill.
It's, and there's 250 for the place windows and doors and shutters and stucco and crack repair at the paper mill house still, after we already did the roof there. So these historic buildings are beautiful and, but they do cost loan.
Aren't there, don't people do donations for these things? At some point? How much use do they get?
Well,
How many people? actually-
here's the Historic Society. We currently, township takes care of 50% of all the operating expenses from a utility standpoint. Items like that, as slight repairs here and there, handyman situation. But we do that, but the balance is through donations from that, the other side of it. But the major stuff, it falls upon us owners to take care of. So all that's rolled into the capital budget for 2026.
And we've worked at trying to get some grants. So like, we did get a donation for part of the cost of the roof at the paper mill house. And then we did get Lisa Borowski worked to get us a grant for most of the rest of the cost of the roof at the paper mill house. We had $100,000 grant that we got from the state, I think Historic Commission or state, I forget, Keystone Grant or whatever it's called, related to that would apply to the bridge, the Bartram Bridge, the historic bridge that we have. But between us and Willistown, we're probably spending, I don't know, in addition to the grant, we're probably spending another, I don't know, $700,000 between the two communities to keep that bridge. We had to replace a bunch of the stonework or redo a bunch of the stonework, and we're having to redo a bunch of the trusses and things like that inside of it. So there's, the older buildings take that kind of money, but if you think about it, the newer buildings do too. Just last year, we spent over $800,000 on the roof on the building that we're in right now, and we spent, it just doesn't take much to spend a lot of money these days on these kind of things.
Were the grants budgeted?
The grants are budgeted when we know that we have them up front. If we don't know we have them up front, then they're not.
Not. Most times
Or if we anticipate that if we've applied for the grant and we think there's a high likelihood that we'll get it, we'll budget it, but then that project wouldn't be done unless the grant came in.
So there are 2026 capital approved projects that might be covered by grants in the future, in 2026.
The answer for that is there's definitely projects in 2026 that will have dollars that are grant dollars. Yes.
But those aren't budgeted.
I believe they are budgeted. If we look at at least I think it's in there. If we look at the sheet for the capital, I don't remember the exact amount and I don't have it right in front of me. Let's see if I can find it. Hold on a second. But there's an amount that's for, let's see if I can find it. I found the expense sheet. Let me see if I can find the revenue sheet. Hold on a second.
There are no surprises though.
no
surprises.
no surprises.
So just to be clear, my question was, if you didn't have the grant locked in or very close to locked in, the grant revenue is not in the budget, but the expense is.
Well, so for example, we have $450,000 of grant revenue that we're anticipating getting. So that's in the budget,
In there.
in the
But
capital
that's
budget.
yeah, I think what she's saying is there are certain things we might still be able to get grants.
That's true.
That's right.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so the capital fund might, the budgeted capital fund, if we did exactly all the things on budget and we get some grant revenue, the capital fund might go up. Or might
That is,
not go down
that
as
is
much as we
correct. Yeah,
anticipate.
if we can
Okay.
get additional grants that we hadn't planned on for the project. The one thing that I know is that typically if you have a grant or you get a grant, there's a very specific process you have to follow in how you spend it and in how you bid the project and all of those kind of things. And so if, like, for example, the municipal authority had a project that it needed to move forward with, even though we were waiting on a grant from last year. And so we had to move forward. We had a problem. We had to deal with it.
Right.
And so they moved forward and did it. We now cannot use that grant for that project. Now, whether we can use it for another project yet or not, we're looking into, but that project could no longer be used because we had already bid the project and done the engineering prior to receiving the grant.
Okay, thank you for that.
do you have somebody that looks for these grants? You have somebody specifically who looks for these, or?
Currently we don't have anybody who's dedicated to that. We get announcements on grants periodically. And so we do that. We also, those of us that have been around a while kind of know where the grants are, some of them, but I have been meeting with a grant company that would provide us a list of grants every month and also help us to apply for grants if we chose to use them. So I don't know that we're going to do that at the board. That hasn't been presented to the board yet, but that is a possibility.
It's a good idea, Steve.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that as well. And I imagine they take a cut if they are successful.
Usually the way the company that I think I've been working with, it's actually a fee-based. And so I've seen companies that do take a cut. I prefer a fee-based so you know what the costs are up front and the way it works. But that means if you don't get it, you pay the fee. I mean, that's the bad side. But you paid you as a community know what your costs are prior to going in, and some of the grants don't allow you to do that. So,
Gotcha.
I mean, you would still have to pay that out of the township dollars. And I find that it's usually better if you just pay the fee, the fixed cost up front.
And ultimately, that's the supervisor's decision.
That is.
You have a projected $450,000 federal and state grants budget this year, capital purpose. Usually, as Steve may have made reference to, that most times we try to do a reimbursement process with these so that we know that we're obviously going to, you hate to be pigeonholed so that you don't know what an eligible cost is. Sometimes there's caps on if engineering example could be included. There's times when it gets capped and things like that. So the application is.
How do we stack up against other townships like ours in terms of getting grants? Like,
I mean, obviously, in some ways we stack up pretty well. In other ways, we've not. I mean, it really kind of depends on the grants. Some grants they're kind of right in who we are and what we do. Other grants are more designed for communities that have different kinds of needs. So we go back and forth with that. As a second-class township that doesn't have certain functions that some other communities have, like water plants and things like that. those kind of communities get some grants that we wouldn't get. So it's kind of hard to do an apples to apples comparison necessarily. And it
Right.
kind of also depends based on, it can depend on a variety of things and how well your grant project's put together, whether or not you're working with another municipality, whether you have private folks involved in it. We try to stack ourselves in the best possible light based on what the grant criteria are. We've tried to do some grants across multiple municipalities, like when we did the grant for the Bartram Bridge. One of the reasons why we got that grant was it was both Willistown and us, and it was actually two different counties. So sometimes you just have to look for what makes it the best way to get the grant. And so sometimes other municipalities have a better chance of getting it just because of the way they're set up or what they're doing. But it goes back and forth.
But yeah, you may reference it, there's a lot of DCED grants at the state level regarding if you had your own sanitation, your own wastewater treatment plant kind of situation like that, and you provide stuff like that. That's where there's a lot of we do actively look for infrastructure that we could get loans. Like there's certain grants that we're waiting for to be able to green light go grants that help you with traffic lights and things like that. We've been focusing on. But yeah, it's like Steve said, so sometimes it's multiple municipalities, that you combine your scope and you share it with someone. Works. I could go through the other capital items, but that's pretty much the overview, and the transfer from the general fund into the capital moved 100% of our projected number of what that revenue may be from the for the PGA, the one-time item.
You said the fund balance used was 95,000.
Yes, fund balance is fine.
What was the need, rise or fall of capital?
The rise of all capital, if we look at it, is we're projecting revenues of just over 2 million and spending about 3.2. So it's a net deficit for the year of about $1.2 million.
And then where does that leave us?
It leaves us just right under 4 million capital.
So we're starting with 5.
We started at 5,
Two,
yeah,
six.
5.1.
Okay,
5.1 and change.
thank you.
Yes. And that's and that focus is all encompassing. I mean, it has our parks, our park projects are both equipment based and stormwater need at Drexel Lodge has bathroom replacements, ADA accessible stuff. Like there's a lot of walkway dam repair situations that we've been focusing on over the past few years, and now it's
More sidewalks?
yes, recycles in there too. Just going through some more. Let me see. Many pages of historic. Oh, the hose tower, the hose tower equipment for the fire station. Yeah, that's 100 grand.
250? Oh,
That's in there.
that's for the squad. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you can recycling. Additional bins we need for residents. We either lose them or they take them. So that's our running $10,000 a year situation there. We need to spend about $25,000 out with the ambulance because we have to climatize the garage they're in. Because some of the newer medications, drugs that are used have to be at certain levels, or need to be a certain temperature for effectiveness. So that's obviously a necessary. That's $25,000. So these items we're not projecting items that truly will be a, obviously, betterment. We've got, for other public works, for example, they have replaced one of the, they have two, they already did, I think we've already in process of doing this, replaced one of the 2009 Mack dump trucks that we're using. That we just ordered that. So the
Harry milked that for a long time.
with that,
Harry
that
milked
for a
that for a
long,
long time.
exactly. Yes, yes, yes. So that's I looked at that first we look at when I'm just as an aside when we're viewing insurance quotes and everything, and I'm looking at you look at age and things, and you do a double take, and that's it's a testament to our
Public Works.
public works
Yep.
team that are able to keep these things rolling, and that's a big chunk there. Improving traffic flow, green light go program, yeah, traffic signals, replacing battery packs. That's $300,000 right there. It's it's a necessary. It adds up. It's a necessary thing
That's not every year.
What's that?
300,000.
Not every year. No, it's not every year. These are all capital one-time items that.
Is this to get the
budget.
green lights mostly on, well, it would obviously have to be township roads.
Right.
Like, so that the traffic keeps going,
Traffic keeps going.
not stop and go.
Yes, not nonstop.
Okay.
And that's the whole
It-
concept.
So what roads would
it-
that be on?
I don't know, Steve.
It's actually this 300,000 piece that is, would do most of the traffic lights along Route 3. I think the first part of this project does 4 lights, if I'm not mistaken. And the focus actually is changing the readers that are on the lights. And there's also some upgrades to the crosswalks. But most of us, when we pull up, there's a reader on the light that tells us whether or not there's a car in that lane. They've got some new technology out that helps improve that. And so that's part of what that project is. So that the light will be able to read how deep the cars are and then trigger when the movement should happen.
So what are the first 4 lights? They right along Westchester, they're like.
It's the
down
ones
by-
right near 252 and Route 3. It's that intersection. Plus, I think it's out 3 or 4 lights. I forget exactly.
Okay.
The goal is to do all of them in town.
Yeah, I mean, it flows very well, actually. I mean, I'm surprised how easy it is to get around the town, even with all this.
And would
Suggestion.
this also improve when you're in the left-hand turn lane? If it
It's
doesn't,
supposed to improve all of it. Yeah.
okay, so if it doesn't quite see you, you have to wait several lights.
Depending on what's,
Yeah.
we have a,
Bar.
excuse me, we have sometimes depending on the type of equipment that we have, sometimes the sun glare actually causes a problem. And so this new equipment, I'm not the right person to describe how it exactly works, but it's supposed to be better at being able to read all of those kind of things. If you remember, I don't know, you may not even have known, but they used to go ahead and bury a kind of a cable in the ground in the asphalt. And then when a car came over it, it actually kind of picked up that there was a car over it. And so that's how it used to read a long time ago. I say a long time ago, it's been since I've been here, but they're finding that the cameras and some of these heat sensors do much better in being able to do it. And every time that we have to fix a road or a utility has to cut into the road, oftentimes that loop would get cut. And when that loop got cut, it wouldn't work. And then you would be months before you got it back in and the light would work, but it didn't work as efficiently. So the technology today is much better with these cameras and the heat sensors. And so that's what we're going to.
Steve, for the lights as well as the mowing that was mentioned earlier,
Yes.
that's on a state road, I believe, but we're responsible for the lights and the maintenance?
Yeah, so the state will cut our grass along our medians and along our right of ways twice a year or 3 times a year. That's it. And Newtown has said we don't want that. So we've taken on that, and they give us, I think it's about $4,000 or $5,000 a year, 6,000. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 4,000 per cutting or something. It's not a lot of money. We take on that cost so that we can keep our medians and our township looking like we want it to look like versus having very tall grass in the medians and those kind of things. Traffic signals, PennDOT up until this point has said, yes, you have to get approval from us to do anything to a traffic signal, but the municipality has to maintain the traffic signal once it gets put in. Or if they want it in, that's in some cases we have to pay to put it in. We did one at Bishop Hollow and Campus Boulevard in Stony Brook. We actually got part of a grant for that, but that was one that we took on once we did it, and Bishop Hollow is a state road. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, all of our traffic signals are off of state roads or on state roads, and then the crossroads that go into it.
Okay.
And probably the last large budget item that I can, from a capital standpoint, is we have a sidewalk project up and down Bishop Hollow Road. Going to get. We're gonna go base. What do we call it? See the petticoat field.
Petticoat League,
Yeah.
the petticoat fields.
And it's gonna come all the way. Gonna come all the way down that side, so it'll be continuous. So you could basically, when I saw mapping, I saw you could basically come from campus and go right around and keep going down, all the way down Bishop Hollow, where there's no sidewalk, and you see, I see people in the morning, and I see people during the day at times walking on the side of
On
the
the opposite side
on
of
the upper side. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're gonna continue.
It's going to
that
be on the same size as Township Building up to Campus Boulevard.
Okay,
that way.
And then at Campus Boulevard, it's going to cross. The intent is for it to cross and then go up on the opposite side of the road at that point, which would then allow
Petticoat League. Up
Excuse
to
me?
Petticoat League.
up to the Petticoat League.
Okay.
and how much was that?
550,000.
How much did we spend in 25?
On that.
Yeah. Sorry if it's not right,
No.
yeah.
Well, let me see. Tell you in a second.
I don't know. We've been doing engineering up to this point,
Yeah. So it's not.
but there's a couple sections along Bishop Hollow as you're going to the east from the Township Building that there's missing sections, and we're filling in those missing sections. They're not very long, but there are a couple sections where they're missing.
So the 550 is for the sidewalks from here up
It's
to, Campus Boulevard, then across, and then up, right?
It's if you leave out of the Township Building and you go up the sidewalk
Yeah.
towards the
saying
Nell
there's some
fields,
spots
towards the
there.
baseball fields, I think you get up to that last field, and then the sidewalk just kind of stops at the driveway.
Yes.
This sidewalk project would take it from that driveway all the way down to Campus Boulevard, and then across Campus Boulevard up to the Petticoat League.
Okay.
On the other, or across Bishop Hollow, up and up on the other side. And then going to the east, where Bishop Hollow gets narrow again, there's a spot where there's no sidewalk, and there's a spot right after that where there's an electric transition, but I'm saying the wrong thing.
Transfer station.
it's not a transfer station, but anyway, it's a transducer basically. And where that is, that's there was no sidewalk for some reason, and we're just filling in those spots. This is actually a grant that we got. We were able to do the Ellis Avenue sidewalk, and it came in less than what we thought it was going to be. Excuse me. And they've agreed to allow us to use those funds to finish off this project.
I think that's good too. Because you got kids coming down from the Petticoat League and they'll be on the sidewalk. You go over to the Little League fields, it's nice to have that.
That's the idea, that people can walk back and forth between the two. You know, that there's families that have kids playing in both places.
Yep.
And this would allow for that. Plus, there's a lot of walkers in that area.
So after this is done, what percentage of the township will be sidewalked that you envision sidewalking?
Oh,
Or
small.
is that a comp plan?
It's a
strategic
long
plan?
term. It's very long term. If you look at we have a Trails and Greenways master plan. And that Trails and Greenways master plan, if you look at it, there's a significant amount of trails and sidewalks that we want to put in over the next several years. I mean, it'll probably be a 20, 30-year process, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Our goal is to make it so that you can walk from one basically corner of the town to anywhere else in the town. I mean, some of the neighborhoods probably will never have sidewalks. They're the old neighborhoods, but a lot of the old neighborhoods, you know, it's a very quiet. You can walk the streets and it's not so bad. But when you get out to the main roads, that's where we want to make sure we start getting sidewalks put in. And the board has been really good about saying to all the developers, you need to do this as we go. And, you know, Porsche is a perfect example. When we required Porsche to put the sidewalk in initially, they were like, there's nothing, it doesn't go anywhere. There's nothing on either side. And now Porsche has continued to build down. They've gone back and put in the Ferrari dealership, and they're going to do another building next to that, right at the corner. And if you take that and you go from where they are all the way back, you can literally go from one end of when you entered the Newtown Township all the way to the other side of the Porsche dealership. And we're having conversations with the developer who owns the property on the other side of the Mastardis about putting in, as they're doing their development, sidewalks along that area. So we easily will have sidewalks from one end of town to the other on that. And then there's lots and lots of trails that we're looking at connecting as well that would allow people to have really some great walking ability around town. That plan's probably, I think, about 6 years old now. I think it was done in 2019.
And that
Anything else?
pretty much where we come from a capital standpoint as far as the budget's concerned. Everything else is from a general fund standpoint is contractual required increases, our recycling contractor increases, electricity going up 25%, where we are with that. Other than that, it's all
25%?
yes. Yeah, some of the rates are ridiculous. So that's budgeted in there. Other than that, I mean, it's cost of living to the employees, the police contract required to do certain there. We'll be hiring this year. We'll be hiring a new police officer. We have one retiring. You know, that's pretty much as Steve and I looked at this, and presented it to the board, they understood that it's a lot of it is it's the capital we took a lot of there's a lot of dedication to the capital with expenses as we went over come to it by department. Balance of the budget is just a requirement to keep our contracts that we have in place up, and then it includes police and includes some of the items that from capital nature that the fire department needs and things like that. So we're doing all we can do to keep the services where they are and to enhance where we have time. It's just that's why we need it. I call it a modest increase, given where the real estate taxes are at the school district and that's pretty much it from the budget standpoint. Steve, if you had anything else to add, I don't know if you did from the budget standpoint.
I don't have anything else to add.
Good. And the only other item that I had is I have my monthly treasurer's report that shows, to give you an overview where we ended up from cash flows, cash balance standpoint. We did close out. We had some accounts that were out there. For example, our 2020, we had some of our note proceeds and our general obligation bond proceeds from 2016 and 2020. That projects were all completed, and there were still residual dollars there, so they got transferred into, depending on the nature of why it was borrowed for, it went to, say, capital, or it went to the combined account that encompasses other like our open space. It doesn't have as, or the way we're structured, and talked about this before, Rich and I did, when he became a member of the finance committee. The way we're structured is that there are specific bank accounts for escrow, specific bank accounts for liquid fuels. We have capital items in our state Pliget bank accounts. But as far as we have other items that are in our combined accounts that are both that while we have funds set up for example, the streetlight fund, the hydrant fund, open space, there's all those funds are included in what we call the combined operating account, in our bank account. It's always been run that way. So it's basically an allocation. We allocate interest to those funds so that we know that in this total balance, there's this much is liquid fuel. I mean, this much is, I'm sorry, open space. This much is hydrant fund, streetlight fund, so that every time there's a case in point, there's a developer that is required to lieu of certain things, they make a donation to open space. And obviously we deposit that into our combined account, but it's automatically allocated to open space funds. So in summary, we ended the year in total with just over 16, I cite $16.6 million in our bank accounts spread through, and that includes capital, that includes our escrow accounts. We have active escrows that are required for every project we have, and there are in addition, there's a stormwater maintenance escrow account that we have, because there is a requirement for many projects to deposit funds for reviewing the stormwater projects for an operation and maintenance standpoint over a 10-year period. It's looked at, but it goes on indefinitely, and the agreements they sign that it's $2,500 down, and that if it needs more monitoring down the road, they may actually have to buck up some more. So we separate stormwater escrows We have separate account for that we have, than we do with our escrow accounts, our normal developer escrow accounts. Other than that, I mean, that's pretty much an overview of where we ended up the year. I could give you more highlights, but I don't want to put you to sleep. But that's it's a summary of where bank reconciliations ended up the end of the year.
Steve, you okay? Anything else you want to add to this?
No, I just would say that, you know, we continue to end in a strong financial position. And I give credit to our board for keeping us there. We've got a strong financial position with our pensions. And that's not even part of that report that Tom was just talking about. But it might sound like a lot of money, but understanding the projects that we do have set aside for those dollars, we could easily spend just in a couple projects. For example, the Greer Park project, we're anticipating coming in somewhere between $1 and $1.25 million, maybe. And you know, we probably have grants of about $300,000 for that. And so, you know, there's a lot of money that the township's going to be paying to try to do that project. And some of the dollars have been set aside along the way, so that we would have monies to do them. We set aside $300,000 for each one of our dams, probably going back to 2016, because we know we need to breach those dams. And so there's some money there to do those projects. And so just know that it may sound like a lot, but when you start really looking at what we need to do, we could spend it all very quickly. We're just trying to be very judicial in how we spend it, so that we keep a good balance, because we want to try to keep our AAA bond rating.
There you go.
That's important.
It's
That-
really
yeah,
important.
Of that, just to jump in, and of that 16, 3 million of it is restricted because it's escrows and types. So you know, but you're right there. I'm sorry, Scott. Yeah, true. The bond rating is important. Yeah, from a potential refinancing position. But
So if I can, I'm going to move us. I know we're getting close on time for the next meeting starting. So if I can, I want to move us forward just real quick. As I see some potential projects for this group over the year, and I'll have some conversations with you each individually, and then we'll talk about what we need to do going forward. But one would be, what will our budget format look like? I've known folks have said they don't really like our format, and I understand it. We've done it very much to state reporting requirements, but we can put a forward-facing budget for the public that looks different. So we would like to do that. We used to do that. We've kind of gotten behind just because we've been changing over some with the finance personnel. But I think for 2027, we should be able to move forward. And so we want to do that. So that's one project that I think this group could help with. Another project that I think this group could possibly help with is really looking at kind of saying, going forward, what are some of our revenue projections? What are some of our possibilities for revenue as we move forward, and sustainability for the township and what that looks like? So I think there's a couple of those kind of projects that could be done, and that could be our focus for this group. And then, that would be one of those things like, I think somebody mentioned before the meeting, folks like Larry and some others that would still like to have some involvement. That may be things where we could bring them in to work with you outside of the meeting, to work on those kind of things, to get traction in those areas. And so those are kind of some of the things that I'm thinking about, probably even some evaluations on maybe some certain types of projects that we want to do. Like, I just give you an example. We have a couple park projects that we really want to take and make the project, make the park be more current, and some of the playground equipment being updated. What does that look like? And then maybe do some research and to say, like, we really need to be having X number of dollars set aside for these type of projects if we really want to do that. So, excuse me. So that's kind of the thoughts, just so that you know kind of
Steve,
where I
you
was at.
mind- Could you send us an email to all three of us outlining these
I can.
particular items, and then we can talk about it and see where it lands. We'll get
Yes.
back to you. We can start a dialogue about it.
Yep.
And I'm kind of clear about 1 and 3, but I didn't get it all what you were saying about revenue projections.
Yeah. So one of the things that we can look at is just, really start understanding, based on where we think things are headed, is there some possibilities of some revenues that we're not looking at? Is there some, what are some of the options that we would have long term as a community? Some some of the things that we may talk about as a group, the board would not be interested at all, and we won't spend much time on them, but just say this is something that's out there as a possibility, but the board's not interested, so we're not going to go very far with it. Or it may be, like, for example, in that,
I hear you now.
that's the kind of things I'm looking at.
Like what you were talking about with the
If
PTA, all of a
should we
sudden.
be petitioning the state to say, yes, we understand why you took away business privilege taxes, but there really are communities today that at the time didn't need a business privilege tax. They were small, like we were. We were pretty rural, at least people thought we were back in, 1995 type time frame. But today we're a very different community. And what does that look like?
Good thought.
Thank you.
Okay. I know we're running over here. So. Any new business? Any old business? Any public comment?
No public.
We're adjourned.
6:36.
Here's the gavel.
Got it. Thank you.
What's your superpower?
Thank you all very much.
Steve.
There you go.
Yeah,
Thank
take
you.
care of yourself, bud.
Yes.
Good night.
Go
Thank
rest.
you.
All right.
We missed
See you,
you
Steve.
this morning.
Susan?
I was saying the president of the Friends, this is my gavel.
Yeah, there you go.
And one night I forgot my